or you maybe just want to make sure it runs smoothly, and somebody provides a software maintenance service, policy and setting up a process for moderation and takedown. So, you know, intermediary, can you tell me who's an intermediary on the internet? Give me examples of intermediaries. What is an intermediary? Who knows? All the platforms are intermediaries, okay? Google is an intermediary, Facebook is an intermediary, Instagram, WhatsApp, they're all intermediaries, right? So they are providing a software, they're providing a service, but the content that you are putting on it, they don't really have a control on it. People can put up whatever content they want. What if this content is defamatory? What if this content is pornography? What if this content is illegal? What can they do for that, right? So the answer for that is that they are protected by intermediary liability protection. There is a law which says that if they are not liable until somebody brings it to their notice. If somebody brings it to their notice, they'll have to take it down. Okay. So intermediaries are protected, but to get protected as an intermediary, they also have to do certain tasks or follow certain policies. Okay. Brokers are intermediary. Brokers are intermediary in real life. That's true. But this is internet intermediary. They are protected by certain laws. Okay, so there are intermediary protection clauses in laws around the world, because otherwise these companies cannot operate, right? So they have been given a protection that, okay, if if the illegality is not in your knowledge, but if it is happening on your platform by people, when it is brought to your knowledge, you'll promptly take action and remove that illegality. Otherwise, that illegality, you are not liable. You don't have to pay damages that someone used your technology to cause an illegality. This is only available for internet intermediaries. It's not available for everyone. It's not available for brokers in real life. Okay. Big basket. So big basket, is it actually providing the service, or is it just providing a platform where others are coming and providing services? No, they are providing service, right? Uber claimed to be an intermediary. Uber said that, look, we are just providing a platform. The service is being provided by the drivers who are signing up on a platform and then providing service to people, right? We are not a service provider. We are just an intermediary. Facebook can say that, look, we have no control over what people publish. We are not telling people to publish this or that. They can publish whatever they like. Yes. So this is very important. So, but if Facebook, like for example, Netflix, can Netflix claim to be an intermediary? No, because Netflix has a control over what is getting published on Netflix. They carefully choose what gets published. Amazon Primes chooses what gets published, right? They don't let anything and everything get published, right? It is moderated content. So Netflix cannot claim that I am an intermediary. Okay, but Facebook can claim, Twitter can claim, Zoom can claim. Can Zoom decide what we are doing on Zoom? No. They have no clue what we are doing on Zoom, right? They don't even check. They don't even know, right? Okay, so this is an example. So intermediaries are not liable what people are doing using such intermediary services, but there will be prohibited content. There will be content that will create problem, which may be illegal. So they have to set up a process for moderation and takedown. They have to give a process for people to complain if they want to complain, and then take it down, right? All of this has to happen swiftly, and it has to happen quickly, and it has to happen to the satisfaction of both the parties. It has to be fair, so that if you don't do it fairly, even people might misuse this process and take down genuine content, and then the genuine people will sue you in the court, right? So from both sides, they are in problem. The intermediary is in problem from both sides. So you have to do it in a very fair way. And I have done this work for one company. I remember I had created a complaint process, right? So they were facing a lot of plagiarized content, and we had to create a solution for that. That how people can complain against plagiarized content and so on. Drafting promotion agreements with influencers, right? So what will you say about this? Drafting promotion agreements with influencers, right? So, you know, there are influencers. It's a huge business, influencer marketing. So they are, sometimes they are just doing one-off deals. That's one thing. But a lot of time they are entering into long-term marketing plans, and drafting promotion agreements with influencers is very, very important. It's a very important way to do things. And registering complaints against cyber offenses. So how many of you have already faced some cyber crime in your life? Somebody did some cyber crime against you. It's growing really fast, right? And people are more and more open to complaining against this. And a lot of times businesses are facing these problems. They are facing these offenses. There are so many different offenses: cyber defamation, cyber, phishing scams are very common, and there's so many different ones. So drafting and registering complaints against cyber offenses is also a highly frequently arising problem and work for lawyers. Reporting and responding to customer data breach, right? So do you read these newspaper articles or on internet also maybe that so and so companies, millions of data got breached, hacked, hackers have accessed the personal data of their customers and all that? You have read this, right? Yes, no, maybe. Yeah, it's a very common thing. So data breaches are really common, and reporting and responding to customer data breach is a very, very important thing to do. RTI is not under this. Okay? So when this happens, for example, under GDPR, you are required by law to report the data breach to the authorities. Okay, set up under GDPR. In India, we don't have something like that yet, but yeah, we are going to have that also. And reporting is a necessary obligation if you have customer data breach. And even if you are an Indian company, but you're doing business with Europe, then you are governed by GDPR. If you have European clients, if you have business in Europe, then you are governed by GDPR. Technology transfer agreement. What is a technology transfer agreement? All right. So if I have a technology and I'm transferring, I've created a certain technology and I'm going to sell it to somebody else in the tech industry. This is very common. This is a very important skill. Technology licensing agreement also. It could be a technology transfer. It can, you're either buying out all the rights or you're buying a license to the technology, whichever may be the case. Very important to, this is a very common agreement that you should know how to draft and negotiate. Another very important thing, content creation and development agreement, which you can understand that you are either, it could be like you're creating a video game or you're creating a video, you're creating some blog posts, whatever. You're creating content for someone else. It's a very common, this thing. Notice and legal action against online impersonation or defamation. Okay, another very important thing. You must have seen this is an extremely common phenomenon. It has become that people create fake profiles, or they write, White Hat Junior, you can say that they were the case. Like, people just start writing anything against you online. There is no saying what they'll write, and they can write anything. Truth, lie, a mix of truth and lie, anything. Like, it's like a online, it's a wild west kind of situation where people can write anything and they expect to get away with it. They don't expect that there will be any action taken against them for writing what they're writing. But because of that, it has become a very serious situation for brands and companies, and they are increasingly taking action against people to create a deterrent effect so that people don't just go and start online abusing spree against them. So it's a very common thing. So notice says legal action against online impersonation or defamation. These things are going up in a big way. Legal remedy for online stalking, bullying, blackmailing, and revenge porn. So I don't have to tell you guys, you are probably all familiar with this. You know what is going on. Online stalking is like, I'm not talking about harmless stalking, but imagine people following you around everywhere to an extent that your mental peace is disturbed, and interfering with your work, interfering with your life. Bullying, cyberbullying is a very, very common thing. Blackmailing in different ways. Revenge porn is also is a big nuisance today. So, all sorts of extortion and sextortion, and all of these things are happening online. And this is also something to learn. Online marketing agreements. This is also very important. A very common work that we found is that very frequently you have to, online marketing is a very common arrangement arising all the time, and drafting these agreements can be various agreements: affiliate marketing agreements, advertising agreements, lead generation agreements, right? So there are many of these, and very common thing. Advising on transfer of data between different data jurisdictions, right? This is also super important. You have to advise, uh, on the transfer of data between two different data jurisdictions. Basically, like, let's say I have a company in the US and I have a company in India as well. And let's say either there are clients from India, or maybe I'm doing marketing for the US company. So it may be required for me to transfer data from here to US, or from US to India. Now, is this allowed? Now, laws like GDPR is making this very complicated, because you have to take permission and consent from your clients, from your potential, whoever it is, whoever data you're collecting. You have to do informed consent with them, and then you have to also maybe inform them if you're transferring. There's a whole, depending on the country and the laws, there can be a whole list of things you have to do whenever you're transferring data between two jurisdictions. And yet this is a very, very common thing. So very often clients will come to you with this request that, tell me, we are going to transfer data in two jurisdictions, how do we do it? Right now, this is flavor of the season. There's a lot of work around this, right? Legal risk audit on a software or digital services platform, right? Do you understand what this is? Very, very important. Legal risk audit is, so if I'm going to buy a software, or I'm going to invest in a software company, or I'm going to invest in a digital services platform, or maybe I'm just, it's like a reverse due diligence that I'm running it for a while. I want to make sure what are the legal risks. So legal risk audits have become very common in technology. You see that, okay, is this technology following all the applicable laws? Is this compliant with all the laws? Is it compliant with GDPR? Is it compliant with, let's say, there are, in the US, for example, there are laws that protect minors and privacy of minors. Okay, so are those being protected? There can be sectoral regulation. So for example, if it is a medical software, there are certain laws that protect privacy in medical context. So are those being followed? Are the context, whatever laws, compliances are there, are those being followed? Because there can be huge fines if you're not following them. So these legal risk audits are also very common, and you have to learn how to do these legal risk audits on a software, on a digital services platform. IP due diligence on a software, so you can understand. So if I am buying a software, or buying a software company, or I'm going to invest in a software company, I definitely want to know where is the IP genuine, right? Are there any open source software that has been used? Is there any violation of open source software policy? This is a very common thing, violation of open source software policies. Is that happening? Is there, I mean, the people who have created the software, like who has the rights, who has the IP rights to the software? Does it belong to the company where I'm investing, or in which I'm buying, or whatever? So those IP due diligence is very important, and checking it out that all the boxes ticks is very, very important. Taxation on sales of software, database access, software as a service. This is very, very important, right? So online databases, reading access, total database transfer, and there are a lot of different tax laws around the world for this. Okay, on income tax, on services tax, whether it's service or goods. If you're selling a pen drive with software, is it goods or is it service? And I mean, although in most countries now there is GST, and in India we have GST, so there's this whole debate on this, that how do we look at taxation of software, and in a lot of this work is international. So if I'm, so who gets to tax, the selling jurisdiction or the jurisdiction where the software is received, who pays tax to whom. There's a lot of confusion over this, right? There is a lot of software export zones. For example, if you're doing export of software, you don't have to pay taxes, and such laws are there. So you have to see overall how it works, and there's a huge aspect to this, like taxation on software. And if you're a technology lawyer, you should know how software is taxed and what are the relevant laws, how databases are, technology databases, everything is taxed. Setting up mechanisms for online execution, compliance, and storage of agreements. This is increasingly a very important task, because companies and businesses are now saying that we want to store our contracts on the cloud, on softwares, and not have physical files, especially after all the this pandemic and people not working out of office. It has become more important than ever that your contracts are on cloud, they are executed on the cloud, the contract management happens on the cloud, and storage and everything. So there are software. What is SaaS? SaaS is software as a service. This is a huge industry. Software as a service, where software is not being sold as a solution or a product, but you use it as a service. So Zoom is a software as a service. We are getting a service, but we are not buying Zoom. We are only getting a service, right?